Hello everyone. Today I wanted to, wrong way around, show you a book rather than just read it to you, because I love the pictures in this one. It's called The Encyclopedia of Legendary Creatures by Tom McGowan, and it's illustrated by a chap called Victor Ambrose, and I love it. I love his style of drawing so much. And so it's full of lots of different creatures that you would find in legend, which makes sense with the title. So I'm obviously not going to read all of them. I'll just pick out ones that I feel like reading to you. So let's get cracking. Okay, let's start with this one. Can you see him? This one is the Abatwa people. Among the Zulu people of South Africa, tales were told of men who suddenly heard a shrill voice speaking to them from the ground. Looking down, the man would see a tiny, tiny figure standing near his feet, and he would know he had met one of the Abatwa people. The Abatwa were the smallest people in the world. They slept in anthills and walked among blades of grass as full-sized people walk among trees in a forest. But they were very self-conscious about their size, and if a man met an Abatwa, he had to be very careful to pretend the little creature was a full-sized person. Otherwise the Abatwa would become enraged and shoot the man with tiny poison arrows. Basilisk. People of the Middle Ages believed that once in a great while, when the positions of the stars were just right, a 7-year-old male chicken, a rooster, would lay an egg. Then along would come a snake to coil around the egg, or a toad to squat upon the egg, keeping it warm and helping it hatch. When it hatched, out came a fearful creature called a basilisk. A basilisk had the body, wings and feet of a rooster, the head and tail of a snake, and the eyes of a toad. It wasn't very big, only about the size of a cat, but it was the most deadly of all creatures. Any plant it breathed upon would wither and die. Any rock it touched would split, and any animal or human that even saw it would drop dead. The very sound it made, an evil hissing, could sometimes cause death. Everyone knew that a basilisk should be killed as soon as it hatched, but obviously killing one wasn't easy. It was believed that the best way was to place a mirror where the basilisk might come upon it suddenly. When the creature saw itself in the mirror, it would drop dead. But even a dead basilisk was dangerous, for it was said that merely touching its lifeless body would cause a person to sicken and die. The basilisk was also known as a cockatrice. I like this chappy here. This is Baycock. Baycock was a horrible creature who roamed the forest in the land of the Chippewa Indian people. He was a skeleton with glowing red eyes and covered with a thin, transparent skin. He carried a bow and arrows and a war club, for he was a hunter, but what he hunted was men. Baycock came to the forest from the east each spring and moved slowly westward until the end of autumn. As he walked, his bones rattled, and Chippewa hunters, hearing a rattling noise in the woods at night, knew Baycock was passing, and someone would soon die. For when Baycock came upon a sleeping hunter, he would squat down and cut a tiny opening in the man's chest, so gently that the sleeper never awoke. He would then remove a small bit of the man's stomach and eat it, The man never knew what happened, but before long he would waste away and die. What else did we find? How about this guy? The Cyclops. Can you see him? He's got a person. Cyclops. People of ancient Greece knew of the Cyclops, a race of giants shaped like humans, except that each Cyclops only had one eye in the center of his forehead. They were wild, savage creatures who lived in caves on an island and kept herds of giant goats and sheep. On a day long ago, the ships of the Greek leader Odysseus came to the rocky coast of the land of the Cyclops. Odysseus and some of his men explored for a time and came upon a cave that belonged to Polyphemus, one of the Cyclops. While they were in the cave, the giant returned. He drove his sheep into the cave and then sealed up the entrance with a huge boulder, trapping the Greeks inside. When Polyphemus saw the men, he promptly ate 2 of them, bones and all, and informed the others he would eat them as well. Odysseus, however, had brought along a container of wine and offered it to the giant. Polyphemus soon fell into a drunken slumber. Odysseus then burned a point into the end of the giant's club and stabbed Polyphemus in the eye, blinding him. The blind Cyclops groped about in the cave, but the men easily dodged him, so Polyphemus pushed the boulder aside and crouched at the entrance, waiting to grab and crush anyone who tried to get out. But the Greeks managed to escape by clinging to the undersides of the giant sheep. For as each sheep went past him, Polyphemus merely felt their woolly backs and let them go, and so the Greeks were able to get back to their ships and sail away from the land of the terrible Cyclops. Take out the dragon. Beautiful. Actually, let's do ghosts. Ghost. In all parts of the world, there is a belief that when some people die, a part of them remains alive in spirit form as a creature that is called a ghost, shade, phantom, or spectre. In most ghost tales, a ghost is never solid and may often be invisible. However, even when it can be seen, a ghost has no substance and can pass through walls and other solid things. Some kinds of ghosts are said to look just as the person did when alive. Others look like the person did when he or she was buried. Some ghosts are merely formless, drifting shapes. Ghosts are generally reputed to be seen only at night. According to legend, some ghosts are spirits of people who did great evil when they were alive, and so must wander restlessly forever as punishment. Such ghosts may be harmful to people. Many Hindus believe that a person who dies unhappy will also become a wandering, harmful ghost. Ghosts that haunt certain places are usually thought to be spirits of people who were murdered or buried in those places. They are seeking either to have their murderers punished or to have their bodies buried in a proper cemetery. In many tales, the ghost of a friend or relative will appear to a person to warn them of some coming disaster or to reveal when some important object which has been lost may be found. Although ghosts have no substance, they are often able to speak and sometimes have the power to move things and to cause people to feel certain sensations, such as extreme cold. Apparently, however, no ghost can do physical harm, such as strangling or stabbing a person. But many people believe that a ghost, through the sheer terror of its presence, can cause people to injure themselves or even to die of fright. We need to do this one. The Hydra. The Hydra was a snake-like monster with 9 heads that was said to live in a foggy marsh in ancient Greece. The poison of its breath spread over the nearby countryside, causing death to everyone who breathed it. The creature seemed impossible to kill, for if one of its heads was cut off, 2 new ones immediately grew in its place. However, the Hydra was finally destroyed by the Greek hero Heracles, called Hercules by the Romans. Each time he cut off a head, Heracles seared the stump with a torch so that no new heads could grow. The 9th head was immortal, so to keep it from causing any trouble, Heracles buried it under a large rock. The Kappa. Kappas were the wicked river sprites of old Japan. A Kappa was about the size of a 13-year-old boy. It walked upright, as humans do, but it had the body and shell of a turtle, the legs of a frog, and the head of a monkey, with long, carefully trimmed hair. The top of a Kappa's head was hollow and was always filled with water, which gave the Kappa life. Kappas delighted in drowning children who went swimming in rivers, but as Kappas were the most fond of cucumbers, Japanese mothers threw cucumbers into the water to bribe the wicked creatures into sparing their children. A warrior would sometimes seek out a Kappa and challenge it to a duel. Let's go with the satyr. Can you see? Playing his little pipe. Satyr. Ancient Greeks believed that satyrs lived in forests and on wooded mountainsides. A satyr had the upper body of a man, but the legs and hooves of a goat. His face was goat-like, with a slanting forehead, flat nose, and wide mouth. Horns sprouted from his forehead, and he whisked a little goat tail. Satyrs were wild, rather lazy creatures that spent their time dancing, making music with flutes and drums, playing with nymphs, and looking for other ways to amuse themselves. They were shy and usually kept away from mortals, except to play tricks on them. Zombie. The people of Haiti, an island of the West Indies, feared to be out in a lonely place at night. They were afraid they might see a figure coming slowly towards them. A gaunt, human figure with staring eyes, moving with a slow, stiff shuffle. A zombie. A zombie was a person whose soul was stolen by an evil magician or witch, and who then seemed to die. But after the person was buried, the magician would dig up the body and bring it back to life to be a slave. A zombie could see and move, but it could not think for itself. It could only do the bidding of its magician master, who might put it to endless work, or far worse, send it out at night to rob and murder. In Jamaica and other parts of the West Indies, these creatures are known as jumbies.